Victorious FM, brought to you by Victorious Entrepreneurs. Here's your host, single mum, entrepreneur and brain injury survivor, Michelle Williams.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victorious FM, where every week I'll be introducing you to inspiring women who have gone after their dreams and refused to give up, even in the face of extreme adversity. We'll be diving into her victories and her defeats and discovering the lessons that she's learned along the way, all with the aim of inspiring you to step into your own unique power to create a business and life that you love. And this week I was joined by the incredibly inspiring Jane Dyer, the founder of Tudor Rose Business Services, which Jane set up to help bridge the gap between health and work, empowering business owners with health or disability issues to regain control of their businesses. And as a female entrepreneur with an invisible disability myself, I found this episode with Jane so interesting, discovering how Jane is working with her clients to develop coping strategies to overcome memory, fatigue and disability issues. These are things that I struggle with myself on a daily basis, and I know affects so many other business owners with disabilities. So I found this episode with Jane so inspiring, and I know that you will too. Hello and welcome to another episode of Victorious FM, where today I'm really excited to invite Jane Dyer onto the show. Hello and welcome, Jane. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, it's nice to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you have joined us, because I connected with you through the powers of Facebook, and I know that you've got a really inspiring story. And obviously the whole ethos and theme of Victorious FM is all about celebrating women's triumph over adversity. And I know you've got such an inspiring story. So do you mind sharing a little bit about your victorious story with us today, please?
I'm Jane, and I have spina bifida and 2 adopted children that are now grown up and left home. And about 5 years ago now, I got my husband then left, so there I was on my own.
Oh my goodness.
And I was I'd had a 20-year career in the public sector. Mm-hmm. And due to ill health, I'd finished that a couple of years earlier. Mm-hmm. So there I was, not working, doing voluntary work, not paid work, and on my own.
Wow. So what did you do? Because obviously I know you've gone on to set up your own really interesting, inspiring and successful business. So what did you then go on to do?
Well, that's right. I thought when my ex-husband left, you could go one of 2 ways. You could get really down, or you could just make them, try and move forward positively. And luckily, that's the way I went. And that's all thanks, I think, to the women in my family. My mum was a very strong woman, and my grandmother. So I think I've inherited that from them.
Oh, brilliant.
So it was onwards and upwards when I was on my own. And I went out of my way to retrain in the education sector. And about a year later, I met my now partner, who is a very confident sort of person. I'm more risk averse type of personality, I would say.
Yeah.
But he encouraged me to say, well, what's the worst that can happen if you have your own business? You just lose the money that you invested in it to start with. So that was quite a positive outlook.
Yeah, that's great to have somebody in your life that's like supporting you and helping you to move forward, because I think sometimes you say you're risk averse, but obviously in a business you need to not necessarily take huge risks, but you need to sometimes really step out of your comfort zone, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. And I think with my ex-husband leaving, I think that gave me a lot more confidence anyway, because you're there doing everything by yourself, that you don't realise that you're doing things more as a couple when you're together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you don't realise how much you then have to do it all yourself when you're back on your own.
No, absolutely.
You know, after 20 odd years.
Yeah, and so I was really interested in your business because there was a little paragraph on your website. I've written it down, but I hope I can read. I hope I can read my writing, so you can correct me. But it says that you empower those with health and disability issues to focus on their business, and you talk about, you know, really helping them when they're struggling with certain things to do with their disability, whether that's memory fatigue, cognitive issues, or
that's right,
disabilities. So can you explain a little bit about that? Because I think this is amazing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I have a physical disability myself, but I've had that since birth. So I haven't known any different, and I was brought up to be very positive and just have a go and do anything.
Amazing.
Despite the barriers that were there. Yeah.
And so the things that you're doing, because it really interested me, because I've got what you would call an invisible disability. I have a brain injury after suffering a brain hemorrhage 3 years ago. So when I connected with you and I saw that you mentioned about memory fatigue, cognitive issues, it's really struck a chord with me, because, you know, everybody from the outside has started telling me, oh, you look so well and it's great to see that you're back to normal. But I struggle with those invisible things. So
that's right. They don't know what's going on in the background necessarily, do they?
Exactly. So things that I feel were my special talents that I used to have as an entrepreneur, because I've been in business for the past 18 years, the things that I was really good at, which were sort of planning, organisation, multitasking, you know, I literally didn't have to write a to-do list because I could remember everything. Those things have gone. So everything's like a real struggle for me. So I was just really interested in, like, you know, finding a little bit more about your business and what it is that you actually do to help empower people that may be struggling with these types of things.
Yeah, well, with my own living experience and the positive can-do attitude, and my adopted children, one of them is autistic.
Okay.
So through their upbringing, I've instilled the same can-do, find your way of doing things with them. So with that experience in mind and my education and training policy background that I'd had, I thought, well, I can pass on these positive messages to other people who have acquired illnesses or disabilities, or their conditions have got worse. So they're in a new position, which is different to myself, because I'm not in a new position. You know, my physical disability is the same.
Because you're born with that.
That's right. But by my example, they can see that you can still do things like have a business. And through coaching, which is can be quite a long-term coaching partnership with my clients. I work with them to where they are now and how they need to change the way they do things, so that they can still do things, but in a different way, and not think that they have to give up their business. It may be as simple as, if they've got fatigue issues, you know, when they see their clients, they look really capable, but they're in the bed for the next 2 days that nobody sees. They may need to just get personal assistant in, for example. So it's very different. I help the clients come up with the solutions themselves.
So you're kind of helping them find strategy, so that rather than them having to either give up on their business or give up on their dream, you're helping. That's right. Helping to find like coping strategies for them, so that they don't have to give up on their dream, basically.
No, that's right. I mean, lots of people, they've acquired disabilities or illnesses, or they've declined, so they can't do what they were doing before. You know, they can't. So some of my clients had busy caseloads and were working 40 hours a week. That just isn't possible for them anymore. But they've still got all their abilities there. can carry on and do that, but less of it.
Yeah.
And get more support in and things like that. So it's very practical based solutions that I help them come up with, and then I help them find those solutions.
I really love this. I love what you're doing because, you know, I think that before having had a brain hemorrhage, you know, obviously I lived a very sort of privileged, lucky life, and you know, you don't really think about disability until it affects you.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But since obviously it's happened to me, I go to a brain injury charity every week for cognitive rehabilitation therapy called Headway, which have been so helpful in my recovery and my rehabilitation. And obviously through that I've connected with other people that have suffered disability through brain injury. And and also sort of I've met other people that run businesses that have also sort of got sort of disabilities and things. And I think what you're doing is so amazing because, you know, it's there's certain things I think that depending on what the disability is that you have that you may struggle with, and sometimes sometimes you just need some outside help, don't you, to help you see how, okay, maybe you can't do things, like if it's a new disability, you can't do things the way that you used to do them. But what's the, you know, how can you overcome that? What's the solution? Do you need to outsource something? You know, or do you need a different way of doing things, which I think is really, really amazing. Yeah, and in my situation, I have mobility difficulties. And I've never been a driver. That's not because I physically can't, it's just something I've never chose to do because I've never needed to drive. And I think the changes I had to adapt to were more after I got divorced and living on my own. Because I didn't have a door-to-door sharing a car to work because we both worked in the same building. And things like that. So I've had to adapt, and so my difficulties are around mobility. So I just find different ways to do things. Yeah, and I love your positivity. And you mentioned about your mum and your grandmother earlier, and obviously they've been like a huge influence on you, because I do think like mindset is really important, isn't it? Because I think what I'm trying to do with Victress FM, having experienced some of the things that I've experienced in my life, because I've basically had two pregnancy losses, divorce, single motherhood, obviously brain injury, which prevented me from working for 3 years. And I didn't think I'd be able to come back to business, but it's kind of like, I feel like that's who I am. I've been a businesswoman for the past 18 years, so it's a big part of my sort of sense of identity. So I've had to find different ways of doing things. I've had to realise my limitations. You know, I used to be really great at writing like blog articles, for instance, which I really struggle with now. It's too much concentration. Which is the reason why I started a podcast, because I don't have any problems talking. So that's one example of how I've changed things. But also I've had to, the things that I really struggle with, I've had to outsource. So I've got a VA that helps me with those things that I struggle. So, and is that part of what you do? I know you sort of help. That's right. I don't actually act as the VA, but in the initial stages, I may do some of that because some of my clients, like yourself, behind their limitations they've got now is more of a mindset and mental health difficulties, adjusting to the new situation. Yeah, definitely. And at the start, they might need some VA type help, which I can obviously provide, but I can also point them in the direction of where to get that from, which is sustainable for them in the longer term. I just think that's just amazing. And in terms of, obviously, because you've obviously gone through a lot of challenges in your life, obviously with being born with spina bifida, and that must have brought challenges throughout your childhood and your life, and then obviously your husband leaving you. Do you think, I'm just interested in how you think those challenges has actually shaped you into the person you are today, and how it shaped your entrepreneurial journey? Well, I think having being born with a disability, I think it does make you stronger.
because you have to face discrimination and comments and looks from people occasionally, and discrimination in the workplace when I was in a 9-to-5 job. So you have to. So I mean, not everyone would do this. I mean, I developed a thick skin probably, and just got through it despite all those things. My strength of character, which has obviously come from my family. So.
Yeah, and I mean, what sort of discrimination? I'm interested in that because obviously I was fired from my job for being pregnant, so that was like a sex-related, pregnancy-related discrimination. But
well, I think I was probably lost my 9-to-5 job because of sickness, which was related to my disability. So although it wasn't blatantly obvious that's the reason, it was just that they were reducing staff and would you like to leave? They can. Some corporations can be very clever in how they manage to I'll put in air quotes here, make redundancies. Exactly. Where it's actually unconstructive. I think it was called is that not the right word? I'm not sure. Unconstructive dismissal. Which, I'm sure that goes on, but you can't. But because they're clever at doing it.
I mean, I know in my case, I actually, it was my dad. He actually said, "Do not let them get away with this. Take them to the tribunal." But because it was so stressful, I actually ended up losing my baby. I just really wanted to curl up and give up, to be honest. But it was my dad that said, "You cannot let people treat you like this. You take them to a tribunal." So I basically went through a year-long. Where it took a year to come to court, and then it was a week-long tribunal, which I did win. And you know what, I'm so thankful to my dad now that he did make me go, although it was very stressful the whole year. I'm so glad that he did insist that I went ahead with that, because otherwise I feel like I would have been victimized my whole life. It kind of it really made me stand up for myself. But you talk about having a thick skin, which I guess you've developed over time and through the influence of the strong female role models. Would that be right, if I correctly? That's right. And I think in my situation, I mean, I could have stayed in the job I was in, which I'd planned to do initially, but then I very quickly thought, well, do I want to stay working in an organisation that thinks of me the way they are doing now? Yeah, exactly. So then I decided, well, I'll leave then. Yeah, exactly, because otherwise it makes for a miserable existence, doesn't it? If you feel you are being discriminated against, then it's... And I think, like lots of people, lots of women, you're in a partnership, you have children, you have a mortgage, so you never think you can leave the security of a job you're in. No. But I can say that it isn't as difficult as you think, and it's not as bad as you think, because the lifestyle I had when I left was hardly any different to the lifestyle I had before. And I thought, well, how can we manage on half our salary, Yeah. Sometimes I think we put that fear in our way. It stops us from actually going after our dreams, doesn't it? Because we've kind of got these golden handcuffs that tie us to a corporate world, and it kind of stops us sometimes, I think. And certainly for me, I wonder if I hadn't have been forced out of my job and fired for being pregnant, I think maybe I wouldn't have been brave enough actually to start my own business. So sometimes I look back on the adversities that I've been through and I think, okay, I think that happened for a reason. And I'm feeling like that with my brain hemorrhage, because I've got this like burning passion inside me to have survived a brain hemorrhage, which is like a rare miracle, I feel so grateful to have survived, but I also feel like I've got this very strong message that I want to get out into the world, that we all do have the choice of how we respond to life's challenges and whether we want to be the victim or victress of our own lives. But do you sometimes feel the same, that some of your adversities have perhaps put you on a different but more rewarding path?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I would have thought, I'll be in this career till I retire and I'll be married and with the same partner, till we pass away.
Yeah.
and then, like yourself, through circumstances, I don't have that job anymore, and I don't have the partner anymore. But I would never have thought I'd ever have my own business.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if you feel like this, but I feel that it's my entrepreneurial journey is what has shaped me as a person quite a lot, because having your own business, it really forces you to, learn new things, doesn't it? Learn new things, learn new skills, and really to come out of your comfort zone. And I think in doing that, that's what's kind of given me my confidence, because as a child I was like extremely shy. I wouldn't talk to anybody, but I've really grown. So have you found that along your entrepreneurial journey as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was used to being in a support role, not taking centre stage when I was in my corporate job. Yeah. Which suited me fine. I was quite happy with all the skills I had and not pushing myself forward all the time. But it's really boosted my self-confidence having my own business, and I've got the skills behind me to be able to do it. So
yeah, and so certainly for me, I feel like I've grown as a person in confidence, definitely. But also as a businesswoman, and it certainly sounds the same to me, because you've obviously got a wealth of expertise. You're doing an amazing job, I think, providing a service that's really, really important as well. So I'm kind of interested also in, what and we've spoken about obviously some of the adversities that you've been through, but I'm just interested in sort of asking what you consider to be some of your biggest triumphs in life.
Well, I'm here with my own business and my own house that I own without a mortgage, so that's a triumph. Yeah, in itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And despite my disabilities and things, I'm someone who's takes up opportunities when they come my way, and I always have done. So I've done things like tall ship sailing.
Oh wow.
I've been abroad as a teenager without my family members, with groups of other people I don't know. And I've done sailing and canoeing and rowing.
Wow. I love that. And do you think, so I was going to ask you, are you somebody that lets fear stop you? But from what I've just heard, you're definitely not. You've obviously been very courageous from an early age to do all these things.
It's a funny question to ask, because I would say my first response would be that I do let fear stop me. When it comes to things like putting myself forward in business and having to talk in front of people and things like that, then I'm not the first one to be volunteering. Yeah. But
sorry, carry on.
But the more I've had my own business, before then, all the things I will do, I am quite adventurous in that I'll try lots of new things. But now in business, I'm more willing, and I want to put myself forward to show other people that you can do it.
Yeah, I love that, because it's so inspiring for other people, particularly, for everybody, but also people with disabilities as well, to know, wow, this lady, she's doing this. I love it. And I think more so than people with disabilities, maybe, it's the people who have got the hidden disabilities or illnesses, because they haven't known that for long. No, exactly. But not, also not necessarily people with disabilities, because I think all of us sometimes let fear stop us from moving forward. I mean, I have certainly been somebody that has let fear stop me even before I acquired my brain injury. And that's really, because we all tell ourselves stories, don't we, that oh no, I couldn't do that, I'm not clever enough, I'm not confident enough, or I don't have enough knowledge. I think we all tell ourselves those stories, and
we do, and I still do that in business, but I found in business it's been helpful for me to have a coach
Okay.
I've had a coach, but not all the time, just a short time.
Yeah.
And, just someone there in the background said, well, what do you know? You do know all these things. And just to remind you.
Yeah. It's so funny, isn't it, that sometimes that we can't see our own strengths and talents, can we? And our own knowledge and experience. We kind of, we tell ourselves these stories that aren't true. That's interesting. So you've had a coach, because I was going to ask you, if there were any things that you actually used to help you keep in a positive, success-focused mindset. So you've got a coach, but do you have any other daily rituals or routines that keep you in that positive frame of mind, focused on success?
Well, I think when you work I work on my own at the moment until my business has grown into this empire. So like lots of people, you haven't got somebody else there to remind you what your skills are when you're having a day or think, I can't do that. So having a coach in the background I would say is good for that. And also to build a team around yourself, because nobody can do everything if they work by themselves. You might start off thinking you're going to do it all. Yeah. You just burn yourself out. So
yeah, that's so true.
So through women's networking particularly, which I got into straight away after having my business, I found experts on, for example, web design, which is something I could have done myself, but it'd take me ages, and then I wouldn't be doing the things I want my business for. So I've got this team of experts that do other things around me that I can go to. So
I love that, and I think that I was guilty before my brain hemorrhage, actually, of being a complete control freak and thinking that I had to do everything, and thinking that nobody's going to be able to do it as well as I did it. And it's completely wrong. And actually what happened, I felt completely worn out and burnt out, and it's only from having had what happened to me it's forced me to actually delegate. And I'm thinking, why didn't I do that 17 years ago? Because there's clearly other people that are experts at different things. And they can do it a lot quicker. So yes, you may have to invest some money into that, but they can do it a lot quicker than you, which leaves you then to actually focus on the things that are your unique sort of strengths and talents. And
exactly. It's like giving yourself time to focus on what expertise you have got and why, and focusing on the why you set up your business.
Exactly. Because I think a lot of people make the mistake, and I certainly did this before with my original business, the Craft Academy, that it ended up being that I was like the victim of my own success, because it started off as like a little local business that I started sort of around my children, because I just wanted to have like something that would allow me to be able to pick my children up from school, take them to school and things like that. But it ended up sort of growing into like a really successful online business, where I began doing like online training courses, helping women start their own creative home businesses. And I was running studio face-to-face courses. I was filming online courses, and it became so successful that I ended up I would say working in my business rather than on my business. I became so busy that I actually couldn't focus on the strategy. So I couldn't actually, build the business any further than I had, because I was too busy. And like I said, it's from having been ill, and actually I haven't been able to work for the past 3 years, that's like forced me onto that to delegate. And it's well, one, I have to do it now because of the sort of cognitive issues that I have, but actually, because I do have those struggles, it's kind of allowing me to see the bigger picture of things as well. So you can step out, can't you, and sort of see the bigger picture. But I was just kind of interested, because obviously your journey is so sort of interesting and inspiring. We've talked a lot about how you've had like really positive female role models, and you've had a coach, but are there any other things that you do? Some people, I've spoken to people that say that they practice gratitude, they write journals, or they have daily affirmations and things like that. Is there anything like that you use at all?
No, I have tried, and I'm not the sort of person that can keep to doing journals and things like that. So. I'm the same. I'm hearing like lots of people that do use it. There are lots. Yeah,
lots of people. And I think the thing is, you've got to find what works for you, haven't you? Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think the thing that's helped the most is networking, and I'm on, because I have mobility difficulties, and whatever difficulties you have, there are networks out there that suit your needs. You can be going early in the morning so you miss the school run, so you're back for school runs. You can go in the evening, you can do them online. So I find just the peer support has helped me the most, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that even if you can't get out to a physical networking group, because I know I've got that issue at the moment because I can't drive. So, and I've got one of my colleagues who actually helps me so much with my business and looked after my business for me in the 3 years I couldn't work. She runs her own networking groups, which I can't get out to because I can't drive.
Yeah.
But there are also so many online networking groups as well.
Yeah.
That you can, and I think it really helps, doesn't it, if you can surround yourself with like-minded people.
That's right. Yeah, I mean that's the thing that's helped me the most, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask you, in light of everything that you have been through, if you could give your younger self a really good piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be to have more self-confidence. I mean, I think there's a difference between confidence and self-confidence.
Yeah,
I'm quite strong-minded and will do things, so I'm very confident in that way.
Yeah,
but I'm not very self-confident.
Yeah,
about my own abilities.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've talked about some of the things that you went off to do, going off on, when you were young, holidays abroad and sailing and all of these things, which obviously to me sound extremely confident. So there's obviously certain things that you will put yourself out of your comfort zone. Do you think those particular things that you did, did you force yourself because of your disability, that you didn't want your disability to limit you? Was that something to do with it?
No, I just enjoyed the opportunity. Yeah. I didn't even think about my disability and if it was going to be difficult.
Yeah, there were just things that you wanted to do, and you just went for it, basically.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think probably my lack of self-confidence comes from my education, because I've always had a disability. So I had special education when I was younger. Yeah. Which didn't do a great deal for me in most respects. So I didn't do my degree and my learning really till I was at college.
Right. Okay.
So I think that held me back a bit in my self-confidence, thinking I'm not good enough and I don't know enough, and which is ridiculous when you think about it now. But absolutely, because those are not true things, are they? They're just stories that that's why it's really interesting. You haven't let your physical disability let you stand in your way. No,
but you're letting those subconscious devil, the devil on your shoulder, mind monkeys or whatever you want. Those are the things that have actually stopped you more, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, they're in a roundabout way as a result of my disability, because I wouldn't have had the special education without that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I think that's held me back in my self-confidence.
Yeah.
But I think I've made up for it since.
Yeah, well, you don't sound like you're letting those mind monkeys stop you now, and that you're really determined. I absolutely love what you're doing. And I wanted to ask also, with your business, it's really to dig into your why, really. I'm really interested in what kind of difference you most want to make in the world with your business.
Well, I do want to empower others that have not been as fortunate as me, I suppose, because I haven't known anything any different. What other people see as difficulties for me, I don't see them for myself, because they're just normal for me, as is normal for them.
Yeah.
But for somebody who's become ill, or their disability or illness has got a lot worse, they have got a change in their life. And I don't want that to hold them back, because I know that despite whatever situation they're in, you know, that they can still succeed and follow their dreams.
Yeah, and I love that, because I think that if it's somebody that suddenly finds themselves with a disability, then they've got to come to terms with kind of finding like their new me, haven't they? It's like it's kind of, and I've been doing at Headway with the Brain Injury Association, I've been on a program called the Hero's Journey, which is all about coming to terms with the fact that, you know, you're not the same person you know, after a brain injury. Obviously there's certain things that have happened, and it's different for everybody. Some people may have a physical disability of the consequence of a brain injury, that, you know, a lot of people will have sort of cognitive disabilities, but at the end of the day you have to come to the point of acceptance, of realizing that, well, I'm different now, and there's no point like dwelling on the fact that I can't do those things that I used to be really good at. I need to find new ways to do things and to cope, and different coping strategies, which is why I really, really love what you're doing. I really do.
And I think I've done that also, what you were just describing, through being divorced as well.
Yeah.
Because that was a life change that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
I had to be positive about it. Well, I could have gone the other way quite easily, but and also with my children that are both adopted, they've had a difficult start in their lives, but we brought them up to think, well, that needn't hold you back, and you can do these things. Yeah.
And I love what you said, because the thing is that we all, whether it's relating to some sort of physical or sort of, you know, invisible disability, cognitive disability, or whatever, we all go through some sort of challenges in our lives, don't we? We all do. And you know, and obviously I've been through a marriage breakup. It's an extremely stressful time, and it's a complete change of your life, and whilst you might not feel positively straight away, you're not going to be like throwing a party, are you? But you do have to try and, I guess, focus on, and this, I think this goes to gratitude really, and this is something that I guess I have practiced throughout my whole life, is not focusing on the negative things, the things that you don't have, or the things you've lost, but focusing on the positive things. And actually, I think when I was going through my divorce, rather than focusing on how awful it was and the stress, I actually chose to focus on the things that I could influence and control to make my life better, rather than focusing on all the negative things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same as what I did myself.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's like really, you know, relevant for anybody that's going through something in their life. But I just wanted, because we're going to have to kind of draw the podcast to a close shortly, but I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions really. One before we go, one of the questions is, you know, if you could go back on your life and actually, and I hope I haven't asked you this question. If I have, it's a part of my brain injury. I literally can't remember.
No,
have I actually asked you, you know, if you could go back and actually give yourself a really good piece of advice, what would it be? Have I asked you that question already?
Yeah, it would be to have more self-confidence.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. So I apologise to all the listeners there. This is my brain injury speaking. One of my impairments is memory, so I couldn't remember I've asked that question. But I just
I think I would have started a business a long time ago.
I love that as well, because I've heard other people say that as well. and quite often they have started their business through adversity. And they said that probably if they hadn't had their back against the wall and forced them to do it, they probably never have done. But you know, if they could go back in time, they would actually say that they would have started it a lot younger. So finally as well, you know, could you, if there's any listeners that are really struggling with perhaps coming to terms with a change in their life or a new disability or something, what piece of advice could you give those people that perhaps want, you know, either have a business already or want to start a business? What piece of advice could you give to those people?
It would be to give yourself time to let go of what's gone, but then focus on all the abilities and skills and opportunities that you have for the future.
I love that. That is such good advice. Thank you for that. Okay, well, we are going to have to draw the podcast to an end, but can I ask before we go, you know, if people do want to find out more about you and what you're doing and find out more about your business and connect with you, how can people do that?
Well, they can contact me through my website, Tudor Rose Business Services, on tudorroseservices.co.uk.
Okay.
And they can contact me through Facebook, Tudor Rose Business Services.
Fantastic.
And LinkedIn, that's Jane Dyer, Tudor Rose Services.
Excellent.
And by phone on 07969 757 041. And I'm here to help any individuals that have had a change of circumstance, that's in business or looking for work or just employed in an organisation. And I also try and put the positive messages across to business owners as well and corporate. So.
Yeah, lovely. And you've put here about obviously empowering others through your own living experiences and through coaching. So they can get in touch with you if you know, for coaching. And also I can see here you've got an ebook, employment support for those with health or disability issues. Can I just sort of ask what that is, so that people
well, I think a lot of barriers are there for people progressing with new disabilities or illness because they don't know what help is available. And that's for themselves in business, and it's also for their employers if they're employed. Their employers don't know what help's available and they think it's going to cost them a lot. So they could, you know, they might lose their job instead of putting in place adjustments and things. So it's all about the funding that you can get through the government and reasonable adjustments that people can make. So there's some advice there for employers and for individuals.
That's brilliant. And they can access that through your website, can they?
Yeah, you can get that through the website, yeah.
Brilliant. Is there a link to that? Because obviously what I'm going to do with all the contact information that you just provided, I'm going to make sure that that's included on the show notes of the podcast and also up on the webpage on victoriousentrepreneurs.com, where this podcast episode will be embedded. If there's a particular link for that download, then obviously I can include that as well.
Yeah, I'll make sure you've got it, but it is on the first page of the website as well.
The first page, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Jane. I really appreciate you coming on to Victorious FM today. I've really enjoyed chatting to you and finding out, you know, about your Victorious story and everything that you're doing, because I just think it's wonderful, it's amazing, and I think will help so many people. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I hope my stories inspires others to move forward positively.
I'm sure I'm really inspired by your story, so I'm sure that lots of other people will be too. So thank you so much, Jane, and I will connect with you again very soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And to you, our wonderful Victorious FM listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about Jane, please either check out the show notes or head over to victoriousentrepreneurs.com, where all of our podcast guests are featured on our website. Please also check out all of our amazing free resources to help you through each stage of starting, launching and growing your own successful business. And don't forget to subscribe to Victorious FM on iTunes or Stitcher to make sure that you don't miss out on another inspiring episode. But until next week, stay victorious.
You're listening to Victorious FM. Victorious Entrepreneurs, for women who are victorious in business and in life.